Hi, my name is Ammaarah, and today I'm going to be talking to you about higher and degree apprenticeships. Traditionally, when you think of an apprenticeship, you think of starting an apprenticeship when you've just finished school, so a school leaver who's just completed GCSEs and wants to go on to further training or education, but doesn't necessarily want to acquire any debt that's associated with higher education. A higher and degree apprenticeship means that once you finish your A-levels or BTECs or equivalent, you can then get education in terms of a degree or a higher level qualification, whilst getting training and real life work experience. So the benefit of a higher degree apprenticeship is that you can work alongside studying. You can see on this slide here the different levels that different apprenticeships are pitched at. So an intermediate would be at level 2, an advanced at level 3, and higher in degree apprenticeships are at levels 4, 5, 6, and sometimes 7. A degree apprenticeship can often be equivalent to a complete degree, which you could have achieved if you took the more traditional route and finished your A-levels and went completely on to study at university. The benefit of doing a degree apprenticeship as well is that you have the potential to progress to level 7 and complete a master's course. So it's important to note that there are lots of different levels, and when we talk about levels for higher and degree apprenticeships, we're typically referring to levels 4, 5, 6, and 7. So what exactly is a higher apprenticeship program? As I've said before, it's essentially a full-time job with the added element of studying. So a degree equivalent can depend on the levels that you achieve. So level 4 would be a higher education certificate. Level 5, 6, and 7 have different accreditations in terms of degree level. And level 6 and 7 in particular apply only to degree level apprenticeships. Typically, a higher degree apprenticeship requires around 20% for a minimum of your working week as training and the rest as working. So around 30 hours per week would be the requirement for working when you're on a higher or degree apprenticeship. And what's important to note is that training costs are paid throughout the course, and this amount can depending on the provider. Apprentices will tend to gain a head start in their profession because they've started at a younger age in the working field, and will also be gaining their education at the same time. The length of time for a higher and degree apprenticeship can range, but typically they last between 1 to 5 years. And the training costs are co-funded by the government and their employer. So with that in mind, then what is a degree apprenticeship program? So a degree apprenticeship program is quite similar to a higher apprenticeship program, but this is essentially aimed at 18 to 19-year-olds as well, but can take a little bit longer if you're starting from the age of 18 and you go on to do a master's. The entry requirements, again, it might be the same as a higher apprenticeship, but they can differ depending on GCSEs and A-level requirements or equivalent. Some interesting facts about degree apprenticeships is that 2/3 of university costs and fees are paid by the government, and this is up to £18,000. And again, a minimum of 30 hours a week for 30 weeks a year is the requirement for a degree apprentice. A great fact is that 90% of degree apprentices go on to have further graduate employment, which is an amazing stat. So what are the similarities and the differences between a higher and a degree apprenticeship? So when we talk about similarities, the cost of education and training is the same and is paid for by employers. They both come with the same possibility for higher earnings, and both provide great career prospects. And I think the main one is that you can earn a salary alongside working and acquire no university debts, unlike many other people who take the traditional route and go straight to university after finishing school. In terms of differences, higher apprenticeships alone can take between 1 to 4 years, whereas a degree apprenticeship could take 3 to 6 years. The higher apprenticeships go from level 4 to 7 and are equivalent to a degree, and this is typically the first after finishing the first year of a degree, whereas with a degree apprenticeship they're pitched at level 6 and 7, and you acquire a full bachelor's and sometimes a master's if you do go on to level 7. So who's eligible to apply for a apprenticeship program? So for higher apprenticeship programs, it's usually between those who are between sort of 18 and 24, but there really is no upper limit in terms of age. On average, the GCSE requirements are 5 A to Cs, which is now 9 to 4 on the new system, and this includes maths and English, and possibly 2 level 3 qualifications, which include A-levels, MVQ and BTECs nationals, or another requirement alternatively, if these qualifications are not achieved, then an advanced apprenticeship. So compared to the degree apprenticeship program, again the age range is the same between 18 and 24, and the GCSE and level requirements would be the same. However, if going for, say, an IT degree apprenticeship program, then you might need to have specific A-levels or BTECs in a specific subject, so it could be an IT equivalent related qualification. Often some programs can again require you to have completed an intermediate or advanced level apprenticeship too. When we talk about career prospects, in the short term, there's a lot of benefits that both higher and degree apprenticeships can boast. 2 facts on here which show that 85% of apprentices remain in employment, and most of them often continue with that employer. The benefit of doing a degree and higher apprenticeship is that you have experience with the employer, and you can see if they're an employer that you want to remain with when you come to complete your apprenticeship. So it gives you that sort of try before you buy experience, and often it proves to be quite successful because a lot of apprentices end up remaining with their company. And the second fact, where it says 75% of apprentices stated that they were given more responsibility in their role. As you become more confident, as you acquire more responsibilities in your role, you feel definitely more challenged, and it's often reflected in the work that you produce, and hence why you would be given more responsibility. This would probably take longer if you went through the traditional university route and then acquired a graduate job. It might take you much longer to gain responsibility and respect of your colleagues and peers in your company. In terms of long term, there's quite a few facts on this slide, but the most important one, I think, to me, is that 80% of apprentices state that doing a degree and higher apprenticeship has provided them with sector relevant skills and knowledge, and it's allowed them to boost their career and given them a direction which they can go into, and one that is very prospective. If we look at this slide, this demonstrates some example apprenticeship roles, and we start with level 3, and this goes up to sort of level 6 and 7, and you could start at level 3 as a business administrator and then be promoted in level 4 and 5 and then again to level 6 and 7, where you could become, as I mentioned before, chartered with a professional or accredited body. The structure typically varies for both higher and degree apprenticeship programs, but this is kind of an example of how it might pan out. So in year 1 you sort of gain some general qualifications, and year 2 again more of a generalized approach, but then you start to specialize, and then in your 3rd and 4th year you start specialising even further, and you undertake what's called an endpoint assessment in year 4 to understand if you qualify as an apprentice in that specific trade. On the right hand side you can see an example of how you might go about achieving your apprenticeship qualification. So you could spend some part of your time in college, some time working, maybe 1 to 2 days a week in college, and then you'd undertake regular reviews with your manager or hiring manager to understand and track your progress. So what are the benefits of doing a higher degree apprenticeships for future candidates? As I've said before, you acquire no university fees, and the benefit is you can essentially have monetary compensation for your training. You gain a practical education and great future career prospects. You have a clear pathway after school and a realistic understanding of how real work operates, understand a practical sense of working from a younger age, and have the ability to gain alongside studying and acquire valuable training. It also gives you a great chance to network and can provide future opportunities in the workplace after. It can also lead to gaining professional accreditation depending on which course you do. If it's engineering, it could mean that you gain accreditation as incorporated or chartered engineer with IMECI or IET. If you're doing a finance or business route, it could mean that you gain a chartership status with CMI, which is the Chartered Managers Institute. But the possibilities are quite endless. And just as another note on an apprentice's value, from an employer and an employee's perspective, you're regarded as a valued employee. You get the opportunity to work alongside staff who are experienced in their field and gain relevant and specific skills to the industry that you're working in, and continue to study without acquiring any debt. You also gain a lot of time for training that's actually related and is specific to your role whilst you're working. So I just thought I would touch into some of the routes that Cummins offers in terms of apprenticeships, and I thought this might be interesting because it shows just the majority and just a wide range of what is on offer. So in terms of Cummins ethos, we believe in empowering your potential by providing opportunities to both young and experienced individuals to help develop and make them into the world's most innovative problem solvers and thinkers. And Cummins truly believes in flexibility to explore what it is that you're passionate about. And we do this by implementing a very diverse, inclusive, passionate workforce. Some of the apprenticeship roles that are on offer in Cummins are listed here. So we have a few with engineering and operations, some in finance, human resources, business administration, materials, and health and safety. Interestingly, Cummins was rated as one of the top 100 apprenticeship employers for the year 2019 to 2020, and that's something that we're incredibly proud of. And if you would like to know more about some of the roles that are on offer, then please see the link below here, Cummins Jobs, for any available roles that are on offer.